In this video clip, I'm going to show how we can process the export of non-CAD documents from inside of Autodesk Vault Professional or Workgroup into Fusion Lifecycle. Just a bit of a setup at the moment. I have no content to migrate. I'm going to include how I can process that as part of this presentation. And my target location currently has no existing items in it. So you're going to see how we can construct all this information from scratch. I'm going to begin by checking in some emails from inside of Outlook and checking them into the Vault folder. This is just some kind of project emails from last year relating to an Autodesk job that we did. So I'm just going to check in these files. Just to give you a heads up on this, this isn't a presentation on how to manipulate and manage emails between Vault and Fusion Lifecycle. I'm simply using this to give me bulk content very quickly into Vault. It's not meant to talk about how that's a PDF that's been derived from inside of that. It's not about that. It's just going to create me enough content to migrate from one system to the other one. And you'll notice as part of my migration, it's quite nicely remembered the last folder I used to test this, which was Project 14 or Project Test 14. So I'm going to click OK and I'm going to check those emails into Vault. We'll wait until it confirms that operation's been completed. Great, that's been done. And now I'm going to have a look at Vault and just refresh my view there, and you can see all of those file items. And I quite like this because I've got emails, I've got PDFs, I've got Word documents, and again, to reiterate, it's not meant to represent that PDF is just a standalone file. It's not meant to represent it being as generated from another document or anything like that. It's just a standalone file. I just want to show how we can process this information. What's interesting about what we brought through is that somehow these files know what project we're in, and this is because we have read that information from the parent folder using an add-in which is called Auto Properties by CAD & Company. It's actually a free add-in that you can download for Vault Workgroup and Vault Professional. It supports 2017 and 2018, and it's worth doing if you ever want to read information from a folder, set of folder properties, and apply that automatically to a file. That's how these files know what the project information is that they are related to. So next thing I want to do is I've set up a specific category to handle a few things. First of all, what this category does is assign some Fusion Lifecycle specific properties that I want, and it also makes available to me a workflow that would trigger the upload from Vault to Fusion. So if I click OK, you'll see that I'm assigning a revision. I've assigned a workflow state. The color of my category is a bright red, and it just adds a couple of other Fusion specific properties here that I want to use to kind of record when the link has succeeded. To trigger the transition, we change the state, switch to release, and this transition is the one that we're watching in order to upload these files to Fusion Lifecycle. So I'm going to move to the release state. I better make sure my job processor is running, which it now is. And we'll just monitor the job queue here just to see what's going on. There's a few little standard Autodesk jobs to synchronize properties, and we'll see if I refresh that, we can see it starting to process everything through now, including the Autodesk Fusion Lifecycle job handler. Okay, always takes a couple of seconds for the first one while it establishes the connection and so on and so forth. Right, now the other thing that the user can do now is they can see when an item has been processed. If I refresh this folder, you can see I'm writing back to the file the item URL in Fusion Lifecycle and the date and the time that the last update of that item occurred. So you know, this can be used ideally to see that when you requested the Fusion Lifecycle be updated, that actually it's completed without a problem. So that's going to keep processing. We're nearly there. Let's go and have a look in Fusion Lifecycle and see what items we have. So we've got a number of items. We've got 10 items and climbing, and we can see the information that we've decided to record on the item. We must have the project number. That's really important, so we know how to categorize the document items we've got. We also must make sure that every file item that we have has a file name, a revision and a version. And here you can see the properties that I'm using to write back to Vault. That's the date and time that the last update to this item was done, and also the URL back to this. We might use that for some developments at some point in the future. So let's just see where we got to. We've now got to 14 items, and there are 14 files in here. Let's just check the job queue. Oh, there's an error with one. Perhaps it's missing a property or something like that. I'm not too bothered about that. I can come back and analyze what that error message was another time. But there you go. So as far as it's concerned, everything has been released successfully and everything has been brought into Fusion Lifecycle. So we've now generated an item, one item per file. This is a revision controlled item, so it could be released using a change order, so we can revision control that. And you can see against each item is an attachment of the source file. So each item does have quite a neat little source file associated with it. Let's try and find one that has a PDF in. I'm of course not going to pick on that one until last, which is always the way. There we go. And if it's a PDF file, the reason why we like PDF so much is that if I click on that link, it takes me to a little mini preview of the PDF. That's brilliant, and I can come back and I can see my item again. So now effectively I've got, for every project file, I've got an equivalent item in Fusion Lifecycle which has an attachment which is the source document itself. So what this means is in this project documents folder, we could create a filter to limit and just show us items that relate to project 14, but I feel as though I've been a little cleverer than that. The purpose of putting this little link in here is whenever an item is added to this project document, if you specify a related project there, it will link that document to a project item in the project's workspace. And it represents that link here using the relationships tab. So on here I can see that these are all the project related documents that are being associated to that project. No need for attachments for the project itself because I'm using the relationships tab to represent it, because that gives me the ability to record the unique URL for that and the date and time that that file was last updated in Fusion Lifecycle, which I think is most important.